GLS Solicitors is led by award-winning solicitor Harjap Singh Bhangal. GLS Solicitors, when the experts need an expert.
I remember going out to look for work because it's like, okay, how can I make money? How can I help mom?
That's right, yeah.
And my first job was in like a supermarket, stocking shelves.
Okay.
I've had several jobs and I've always worked as well as caring for my mum. When I was out of the house, I was kind of like another person.
Okay.
That was my first proper experience of alcohol. My brother had answered the door, and then he phoned me and he said, "The police are here looking for you.
Right.
You need to come home now." Then I realised this other girl, who was my friend, was also there as well. But what I didn't realise...
She'd been arrested as well?
She'd been arrested at the same time as me.
Okay.
Apparently her dad wasn't even bothered that she'd been arrested.
Wow.
Because it happened to her before. And then he's telling my mum and my brother, "I always knew that your daughter was wrong for my child." Like, it's always easy to blame the other child, but not hold accountability for your own
child.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਸ਼ੋ। ਅਕਸਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਦੀ, ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਲਾਈਫ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਤੀਜੇ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। ਆਪਾਂ ਅਕਸਰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਗਲਤ ਨਤੀਜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਕੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਐਂਡ ਕੋਈ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਹੁਣ ਕੋਈ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਰਿਫਿਊਜ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ, ਕੱਚਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੱਚਾ ਹਾਂ। ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਜ਼ਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ, ਉਹ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ। ਇਨਫੈਕਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਵਾਂ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਗਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਮਾਮੇ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ, ਹਾਲੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਗਏ ਆ। ਕੀ ਅਖਬਾਰ ਨਾਲੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਟ ਰਾਹੀਂ, ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਅੱਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਦੇਸ਼ ਪ੍ਰਦੇਸ਼ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਅਖਬਾਰ ਦੇਖਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ। ਪਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਇਹ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੋਈ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਵੈਰੀ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆ। ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਦੱਸਾਂ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਿਉਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੁਰਾ ਵਕਤ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਪਰ ਅਕਸਰ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੋਇਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਤੀਜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਜੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਗਲਤ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਆ। ਆਪਾਂ ਬੜੇ ਖੁਸ਼ਕਿਸਮਤ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਐਂਡ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਸੈਡ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਅੱਜ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਗੈਸਟ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਦੇ ਗਲਤ ਨਤੀਜੇ ਦੇਖ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਪ੍ਰਿਜ਼ਨ ਜਾ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਪਰੋਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਹਰਜਾਪ, ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਪ੍ਰਿਜ਼ਨ ਲਾਈਫ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਆ, ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਆ। ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੋਕ ਸਾਡੇ ਜੋ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ 'ਚ ਆ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਕਿ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਆ, ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਆ, ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੀ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਆ। ਪਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ। ਜਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮਾਂ 'ਚ ਇਨਵੋਲਵਡ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਹਾਲੇ ਡਰ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੋਈ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਡਾਟ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਆ। ਪਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਨੂੰ ਦਾਤ ਦਿੰਦਾ। ਆਫਟਰ ਇਟਸ ਵੈਰੀ ਬਰੇਵ what she's doing, coming on and talking about her experience, but she feels as if when I first met her, she feels as if she needs to talk about this, and she's got experiences where she wants to let everyone know in our community know, look, this is what it's like and this is what happened and these are the things you have to watch out for. And aksar we laugh and joke about it, or we see the experience happen in films like Shawshank Redemption, American History X. We see what happens in American prisons, but I wonder how many of us actually talk to someone who's been inside. I do, because it's my living. But if I didn't do this job, I don't think I'd talk to anyone who'd been there, and I don't think anyone would want to talk about it. It's not something, which is great. It's not like winning an Olympic gold medal. But I'm so glad to welcome on, with a hint of tragedy, I think, and a hint of sort of sadness, that we've got someone on today who can tell us in English and in Punjabi exactly what happened, your key experience here, key name. ਪਹਿਲਾਂ welcome to the show.
Thank you.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿ ਐਗਜ਼ੈਕਟਲੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਪਬ੍ਰਿੰਗਿੰਗ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ?
Normal
Punjabi house?
I grew up in a house with more than one sibling.
Okay.
So I wasn't an only child.
Okay.
Childhood was as good as it is because you don't know nothing other than what your parents provide for you.
And tell you, yeah.
Lost my dad at quite a young age.
Okay.
I was about 10. And yeah, everything was good and normal up until that point. But then obviously I became a carer by the age of 11 for my mom.
Okay. Your mum wasn't well?
Yeah, she was, after dad, she became quite unwell.
Okay.
But that was it. Life was good. There was never anything wrong.
So सारा कुछ normal ही
It was as normal as could be. There was ups and downs, there were struggles, but that was life. There was always a solution. You could always, handle it or deal with it. So yeah.
तो कोई ज़्यादा मजबूरी नहीं सी, कोई तंगी नहीं सी ज़्यादा.
No, nothing at all. Like, my mum has done the best she could in all of her life to provide everything for us, even as a single mother after that. Before we wanted anything, she would provide it to us without having to ask for it more than once. Sometimes you didn't have to ask for it and it was already there.
So your mum hardworking सी and.
Yeah, she struggled, but she never let us feel the struggle.
Okay.
So yeah, it was as normal as could be.
And your schooling and everything? सारा कुछ?
Schooling was good. I mean, primary school was primary school. You're just a kid.
Yeah. Secondary school?
Secondary school was a bit of a struggle because that was me going into high school was a month after my dad died.
Right.
So that's
That had a profound effect on you.
Yeah, it was never easy because you're caring for someone at home.
Yeah. And then you have to
And then
study.
you're studying, but then before you know it, time flies so quick. Your GCSEs come up. I managed to get 5 A to C's.
Okay. Which is still good.
Which is still good. But I knew, and my mum knew, I still had the potential to do better.
Okay.
But it's just what the circumstances
You're burdened.
Yeah.
Looking after your mum and doing your work and then.
And then I went on to college, done a GMVQ
So college guys.
level 3 health and social care. Then I went on to university. But I didn't make it past the first year.
Okay.
But that was more because my mum's health was getting worse.
Okay.
Caring responsibilities, I had to drop out. But ever since the age of 16, when I was at college, I did work. My national insurance number just came before my 16th birthday.
That's right, yeah, मेरा भी आया था.
And I remember going out to look for work because it's like, okay, how can I make money? How can I help mom?
That's right, yeah.
And my first job was in like a supermarket, stocking shelves.
Okay.
I've had several jobs, and I've always worked as well as caring for my mum, as well as studying.
Because that's what we do. That's what we're talking.
It's what you grow up knowing. You don't know anything else other than family and family life, and yeah, everything was just normal. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was as good as could be.
Up until what happened to you, did any of your family been to prison, in trouble with the police?
Never.
कुछ भी नहीं?
Never.
कदे बनी?
Never. The most anyone never had was like a parking ticket or a parking fine,
Oh wow.
and that was it. And even then, my mum would panic. Oh shit, he fined Bardbo, like.
That अपने बंदे do.
Yeah, like if you've parked in a box junction or if you parked on double yellow lines or.
Don't do what I do and leave it till it doubles. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I'm so bad on them.
Yeah, it was just everything was normal,
So ਆਪਾਂ ਜੇ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਯੰਗ ਉਮਰ 'ਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਡੈਡੀ ਗੁਜ਼ਰ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ and ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਪੈਨ ਉਸੇ your ਮੰਮੀ ਬਿਮਾਰ ਸੀਗੇ and so you had to look after her. And my mum was the same. So during my childhood, she had a back problem, was ill, and she didn't work, and I had to take her constantly to hospital appointments and doctor's appointments and homeopathics and massage guys, people, and chiropractors and all of this, and so that is a burden. मैं उस चीज़ नू समझदा हां.
Yeah.
And when I was young as well, my dad was in India for 2 years looking after his dad. So for that 2-year period, my dad wasn't on the scene either. And it's hard. But I saw my mum coping and it was hard.
Yeah.
She would try and sew. Dad would send her some money here and then, but it was hard for almost single mother
Yeah.
as it is. And ਛੁੱਟੀਆਂ ਆਈਆਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਲਈ ਵੀ, and I used to think, right, I used to work in a ਕੱਪੜਿਆਂ ਦੀ factory, then I worked in a fish factory, then I got a job in McDonald's, just so मैं अपना खर्चा ਚੱਕ सका,
Yeah.
so that I didn't have to sponge off mum, I didn't have to sponge off dad. So it's typical, so just what you do as a kid, right?
Yep.
And so when you finished your college, or you finished your uni, you came out of uni. What did you do then? You went to a
So
job?
I just went into full-time work because it wasn't possible to help mum financially and educate myself and look after the house and look after her.
ठीक है.
So I discussed it with the course leader at university, and they said, why don't you take a gap and you can always come back and pick up where you left off.
ठीक है.
And that's what I done. But then the thing is, when you get into that regular mode of you're now over 18 or 21 and you're getting more money than you were under 16, you're contributing more. And that's how it went until the age of 26.
Okay.
I was
So you
always,
got up in a web of work, sort of.
just home to work, work to home. And that was it, that was my life. And I was quite content with that.
Okay, so ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਜੋ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਘਰ ਆਉਣਾ ਮੰਮੀ ਦੀ look after ਕਰਨੀ
Yep.
and then in the morning go ਕੰਮ ਤੇ again.
Yeah.
Pretty much that was your life.
That was the circle.
and ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦਾ ਫਰੈਂਡਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗੀ
No.
ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਸੀ.
Time, but it's like understanding. No one really gets it.
Right.
Like if you've got to rush back home or if you've taken a day off because you've got to take your mum to the hospital, they won't get it.
Did you grow up in a desi area? Did you grow up
I did.
So for me it's different. I grew up in a Gora area and I didn't see desis till I went uni.
No.
But for you grew up in a desi and there wasn't anyone around who sort of understood the situation.
So as a young child, what I saw, and I'll say exactly how it is, when my dad died, the dynamics of the family changed.
Okay.
Everyone comes when someone dies for like a week, a month.
Yeah.
But as soon as the funeral's over, everyone goes back to the normal house.
That's right, yeah.
That's it. We were kind of left to our own devices. Like I remember I learned to change a light bulb at the age of 11.
Okay.
And that's not because I wanted to, but because I had to.
You had to, yeah.
It's little things like that,
So you didn't really get a lot of family support and all that as well?
No, because I think the family was still trying to, like mum was trying to bring herself out of this big grief.
Okay.
My younger siblings were too young, and the older ones were also making their own lives.
Okay.
So, yeah, no one stops for you.
So you sort of felt alone, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So then exactly what happened? How did you end up where you did?
So I met someone, I caught up with someone again, who was from our Asian community. We shared a lot in common.
Was she a friend?
Yeah,
had she been a
we
friend?
used to work together.
Okay, so she's an ex-colleague, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because you come from the same community, then you slowly think, okay, well I can talk about certain things to this person.
I can relate to them, yeah.
And she started relating to me because obviously more or less every Indian household is the same kind of dynamic.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
And then eventually it's like, I think I cared too much because I've always grown up caring. You get caught up in this web of you don't know how to not care.
Yeah.
You don't know the boundaries.
You can't, yeah.
Or you can't say
You
no.
can't say hold, buddy.
Yeah. And that was my downfall. My downfall was this: when we started associating again, spending time together again.
Yeah. But you just hang out, right?
Because I never had that freedom before.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to take it. Freedom in the sense that because I enjoyed being away from home and the responsibilities, I then started spending more time out of the house because it was my escape. And it's like, mum will manage. I've done it all these years.
So ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘੁੰਮਦੇ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਆਪ?
Yeah, it was just like, I know this, to a lot of people this might sound stupid.
And that to you was something new?
For me, it was, as a young carer, like the only time I'd ever been to the cinema before was if my older brother or sister had taken me.
Yeah.
And we had been out to the cinema with the whole family. But that's like in the, 10, 15 years back then when my dad had died. We'd only had like 1 or 2 family trips out. Other than that, it was just family weddings where you see each other. And that's not a lot.
Not a lot at all.
No.
Compared to nowadays.
And it was just like, okay, this is an escape. And for me, it was different in the sense that I didn't have to be that person that was always burdened. When I was out of the house, I was kind of like
free.
Another person.
Okay.
That was my first proper experience of alcohol. And shisha, tobacco and stuff. And it was like the way that makes you feel afterwards it literally did become my escape.
Okay.
And that's where the downfall started, because
Now you look back and then you think, right, that was the key.
I've only realised this in the last 3, 4, 5 years of my life. I didn't have the correct outlet, and I also didn't know who to reach out to for the support.
You didn't cry out for help.
No, but who do you cry to? Your
That's
family
right.
hasn't got time.
In our community, there's no one.
GP, you can't get an appointment. So who do you go to?
So you've started associating with this friend again.
Mm-hmm.
That's feels like something new. It feels like an outlet because you've been so confined, we could say, or set in your routine before and burdened.
Yeah.
As a kid, from a kid. So remember this, you've been burdened as a kid from the age of 11,
Yeah.
right? And so now this feels like something new, escapism, somewhere where you can have a bit of space for yourself. So then how does, but still, you know, a lot of kids do that. A lot of people do that. I, used to go out of my way. So I remember when I went uni, my dad said to me, he goes, "Edda lagda jidda tu kide chuttiya hunna kehde cho," and like, then for me, I never sort of went back to being confined again. But how do you get to where you ended up? I mean, in jail from that. But then how did that sort of happen? Did that sort of thing relax your thinking, or because it was very against character, and it's not something
So
your family have taught you to do?
before this, I always knew to live within my means.
Okay.
Kharcha jidda chali janda, as my mum would say, chali janda.
Yeah, ठीक है.
If you're earning, you're making the money, you spend it.
Yeah.
We didn't not have nice clothes or nice trainers or nice food to eat. All of that was there.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was looking for, but what I was in wasn't the right thing for me, clearly.
Okay.
But that specific time of my life, I wasn't working. This friend dropped out of work.
Okay.
And she knew of someone who had money.
Yeah.
And a situation occurred and happened where I allowed things to happen. I won't go too much into it, but I didn't stop a situation from happening because I was able to do things and be in an environment where I was no longer responsible or caring. And in the first couple of £1,000 that's come into your account, you think, oh, it's fine. If anything, I'll pay this back.
Yeah.
But what I didn't think was, well, if you haven't got £1,000 now,
How
how are you
gonna
going to have £5,000 to pay?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the God's honest truth is the only time I knew
Yeah.
how much it had accumulated to was when the police came knocking on my door.
Would you say greed grew in you, or when you were looking at others, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮਨ 'ਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਦੇਖੋ ਇਹ ऐदा कर रहे हैं तो मैं क्यों नहीं ऐदा कर सकती, and like मेरे कोल पैसे क्यों नहीं, or did you feel, well, hold on, I have an opportunity here to make money and I should do that regardless of whether it's right or wrong? What was your driving factor, or did you just think, Jal, it's something I can do, I can get away with it, I'm just going to do it?
It wasn't even that. And to be honest, in the moment, right and wrong didn't even occur to me, and I wish it did. But when you're in that moment, you're in that situation, and how I see it now is
It just became normal.
it became the norm, and I totally hold my hands up for becoming emotionally involved
Okay.
and emotionally irresponsible for my behaviour, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
I could have stopped it at any time. I could have stepped back at any time.
Did you know what he was doing was wrong? Was there some way?
In the back of my head, yeah.
Then ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ brain conscious ਤਾਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ?
In the back of my head, I knew it was wrong, and
That you were using something which wasn't yours.
Which
You
wasn't mine,
you hadn't earned it,
like I said, I thought,
and you'd worked all your life pretty much, yeah.
and at the time, I thought it's only £1 grand, £2 grand.
ਥੋੜਾ ਯਾਰ more than I'm a ਕੰਮ ਕਰਕੇ.
But like I said, when the police came knocking on the door and they read out the amount, I just thought, huh?
Did you think one day the police would ever knock on your door?
Closer to the time, I realised it.
Did you ever then think that, hold on, I've taken this amount? Did you ever check yourself and think, hum bahut ho gaya, I need to pay this back?
No. And like I said, it was that web you're
You're caught in a web, yeah.
And in the last few months prior to the arrest, obviously there was a lot of travelling. And in that travelling...
Travelling what for? Holidays?
Just holidays.
Just having a break?
Yeah. And like I said, I've now found.
10
So you
years
were creating a lifestyle that perhaps you didn't have or didn't grow up with. Like you said, we don't go out anywhere.
Do you know what the funny thing is? Well, even when I was on holiday, I still had my mum asking me where her meds were. I still had to order her medicine. The escape wasn't just mine alone, although it was for me. Obviously, this person,
Someone was involved in it with you.
Involved in it.
Yeah. Okay.
and so I could be hundreds, thousands of miles away from home, but I was still, at the back of my mind, I was still a carer. I was still being responsible. But I don't know what was going on in my brain. Like, I'd be totally wrong if I sat here and said to you, Harjap, this is exactly what my mind was saying. I knew it was wrong. I knew I couldn't stop. I knew I could stop. I just didn't know how.
Right, and because there was someone else involved as well, perhaps that influence or perhaps the thing, well, hold on. Do you reckon that made a big factor?
Yeah, like,
Without that person, is this something you would have done on your own?
no. I wouldn't have the guts to.
You wouldn't have the guts to. And
The only time I've ever travelled away from my family, away from my mum, is when my mum's made me board a flight from here to India, and I've gone straight and into families' farms, and then the family have, sent us to the airport there, and then we've come back straight to mum.
okay.
I never travelled without my family, never been anywhere other than India before in my life. And that's pretty much it. Like, I don't know what more to tell you other than what it was at the time.
Okay, so you're doing this thing which you know in the back of your head is wrong, but you don't know how to stop. And it's accumulating and gone up to some sort of substantive amount. Then you said around the time before the police knocked, you sort of had an inkling that perhaps the police might get involved. Hannah? Then did you think, right, you know what, this has gone too far, I need to stop, what do I need to do? Or was there any panic then, or did you just think, you know what, we'll see, we'll just take it on the...
The only panic I had in my mind was, there was two things. A, how am I going to tell my mum? And B, how am I going to pay it back?
Right.
Because...
which is probably the two main things you needed.
Which is, yeah, it was the two main things, but then in all the panic, my own health started to deteriorate.
Right.
That's something I'd never ever imagined, or I didn't even manage well at the time. And even then, like, because I wasn't home enough, my family didn't see that deterioration in my health. I could feel it, but I just thought it's the burden of everything.
There was no one to care for you. You were the carer. And everyone was sort of busy in their own life, and you've gone and seen something which isn't a norm, and then you've gone out and seen a lifestyle, and you've done something, but you know in the back of your head it's wrong, but it's just almost like it's rolling over and rolling over. It was going to come to a head, but perhaps you didn't know that it was going to come to a head.
The minute the person asked me for the money back and they said, this is what's happened.
Yeah. Oh, so the person actually approached you?
Yeah, via text message.
And said what? And said, this is my money, you've got
I want it back.
I want it back, yeah?
I was stuck in the position where, well, this other person who's also benefited from the amount, benefited way more than I did, or my family, or anyone did.
Yeah.
How do you tell that person, well, actually, that's your family member?
Why didn't you?
Because I was an idiot. I was trying to be this
Hero.
friend and this loyal person that looking back at it now, I would never be.
Why did you take that rap for it? Why did you take it?
I didn't take the rap. Do you know what? The police took my phone.
Yeah.
Everything was there. And
so what? Now let's talk about when the police knocked on your door. So they came knocking for you, right? Were you in?
No, I was on my way to a doctor's appointment. My brother had answered the door.
Yeah.
And I'd left the house about 10-15 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
And then he phoned me and he said, the police are here looking for you.
Right.
You need to come home now.
And what did you do?
I was halfway between my house and the doctor's surgery.
Okay.
And it was really, really hot, and I didn't know what to do, because all of a sudden you've heard police, and your legs start trembling, and you think,
I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But then, more than that was, oh no, they're going to tell mum everything. And so my brother, he put the phone down.
He must have said,
What? Yeah, and then the next minute, the police have phoned me.
On your phone?
On my phone, straight away, in the same instance. And they've asked my location. Before I knew it, Like within 2-3 minutes, there was a police car there.
Oh my God.
They took me from where I
They
was.
tracked you. Yeah, well, you gave your location.
I gave my location willingly because I didn't want them to be at my mum's any longer than they need to.
Came around you all that. So they came to pick you up.
They picked me up. They took me back to my mum's house.
Did they handcuff you?
They did. They did.
Did they tell you were arresting you?
Yeah, they did. And I was in the middle of the street. Never been in trouble in my life.
Were there people there?
Do you know, I don't even know. All
You
of
can't
that was
remember.
like a day.
It's like a blur,
It
yeah?
was like 8 something in the morning, so I don't remember.
Right. So they took you back to your mum's house?
They took me back to my mum's house, and I remember I had to get out of the car,
Yeah.
and because I had the cuffs on, I said to them, "Can you
Uncuff me.
cover this?" The first question was, "Can you uncuff me?" They said, "No, not happening. You're under arrest." Then I had to try to get something to cover it with. Luckily, I had a jacket in my bag. They put that over for me, and then
Was that because you didn't want your mum to see that, or you because you didn't want anyone else, the neighbours and all that?
everything. It was everything. Like I didn't know what they had and hadn't told my mum.
Okay.
So I didn't want that initial shock to be there for her. Because it was that time of the morning, I knew my neighbours would be out and about, going to work or dropping kids to school. I walked into the house and I saw my mum crying, and I kind of knew they've told her. But what they were telling her in English, now my mum doesn't speak a very good word of English at all. So to her it was just all over her head, but she saw so much police in the house. She didn't know what to do, but she was just crying, and she was just asking me like, "What the hell have you done?"
So, you've been arrested, you've been cuffed, you've been put in a car, police car, you've come out, you requested a jacket, been put over because they refused to take the car. They must have knocked on your mum's door. Your mum's seen all these police and they've seen you there, and she's panicked, and obviously. You went inside?
They took me to my room. They asked me which one was my room. They literally ransacked my whole room,
They searched the whole thing,
searched the whole
top to head to toe, yeah?
and they took whatever they thought was appropriate. So they took things like travel documents, boarding passes and stuff,
Which you had in your room, yeah?
which were there. Obviously, my family.
Did your mum know you was...
Going on trips.
My mum knew. I told my mum I was
Did you
going
going on
on.
trips?
Yeah,
Did she ask you कि तू तो काम नहीं
Did you hold it? I mean.
she did, and I told her my friend's paying. I'll pay her back later.
Oh, right, okay, teacher.
And because there was only 3 times I was away from home, and within minutes I got taken to the police station.
And
So they searched your room.
They searched my room and they just took me out.
Wow, what did you say to your mum? Did your mum not ask you, Eki, or...
I wasn't allowed to say anything to her.
Oh, to go scared? No, you couldn't.
No.
So what was your mum saying? She must have been crying.
You know what? She was crying, but the only thing she said to me was,
Sorry, man, it's hard.
she said, "Don't worry."
I think that's what mums do. In general, they, no matter what happens, they take the burden off you and just want to be there with you, regardless of what it is. Because you've got to understand that when a kid's in pain, a mum hurts more than the actual kid themselves. I didn't know that until I was a parent myself. My mum always used to say, "Jo tere jammuge tenu pata lagu," and I used to think, "Mum, what you on about? To kidda di gallan kardiyan." And now mere jamme hua, whenever my kid gets a bakar, whenever they're in pain or they cut their finger or they're bleeding, I feel as if I'm about to die. I don't know like that. And then no matter what it is, a kid, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ kid no matter ਜੋ ਵੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਹੋਇਆ, it's always mum and you're telling, don't worry, I'm here, daddy's here, mummy's here, everything will be alright.
Yeah.
Everything will be alright. And even now, when I get stressed out and I go home and my mum and dad can see dinner stressed ਹੈਗਾ, my dad will always say, ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਹਜੇ, and it's just that reassurance, I think.
That's exactly what she said to me. She goes,
Fikr naka.
she goes, "Don't worry, मैं कुछ कर दिया."
What?
And when my as I was leaving,
Did she know even what it was about?
no,
She
she,
didn't know what
she
it was
didn't know
about.
nothing about it. She knew nothing about anything.
So she didn't know.
And I remember I was walking out of the house with the police cuffed, and
ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਮੰਮੀ ਨੇ ਤੂੰ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ?
They wouldn't let us talk.
Oh, they wouldn't let you talk. Oh,
There was
yeah,
a female officer, she kept coming in the way, and because they wanted to take me for an interview, etc.,
Yeah, yeah.
they just wouldn't let us talk. And my brother was just like, don't worry, we'll sort this
We'll
out.
sort this out, yeah, don't worry.
That's all they
fine,
said.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you're obviously in a police station, and you're doing things you've
Do you
never
remember that
done.
journey from home to the
I
police
do.
station?
What was it like?
you just
it
worried?
it was the longest journey of my life.
To the police station, yeah?
Because you just want to come back home and fix things, but then there's also the realization that from this point there's no going back.
There isn't, man.
There's
This
no
isn't
going
going to
back
go
at
away
all.
in
No.
an hour or two.
No.
This is...
This is serious.
Yeah, this is serious.
But then when I got to the police station, obviously they do things like fingerprints. They took
Yeah,
your
they're checking.
footprint.
So Georgia Police Station, they took your fingerprint?
They took all a few fingerprints.
Yeah. Your footprint, is it?
A footprint for some peculiar thing. I don't know why. And then they took my height, my weight, and then they just
Was it lady officers doing this or guys?
So the fingerprint situation was a male officer.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you're quite. He was very nice and polite, and he asked me what area I was from, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've been to so and so high school." Like I know what he was trying to do. He was quite young. He was just trying to make me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's only because he was an upper.
He was
Right, okay.
Being like that, and he was the nicest person in that police station. Probably because he's thinking, "What the hell is she doing here?"
Yeah, I mean, that's initially, if I was a police officer and I saw an uppity kudi coming in to prison, I would say, what the hell are you doing here? Well, often when we go to court and then, you know, we defend people, we see other people there and I think, what the heck, you don't look like as you belong here. You know, you've come here with all your family look nice and look like an all. That's the first thing, because we don't get into situations.
Situations like this.
We're told, you know, we don't get into situations like that. But Jalal, he was trying to comfort you.
He was just trying to be nice, and he said to me, he goes, normally, he goes, people prefer it's a female
Yeah.
officer. But to be honest, I don't think the police cared who done my situation.
They don't really care.
Who handed it to me. They just wanted it done. And then when I walked back to the
Front
they
desk,
check
the
you
sergeant.
yeah, then I realised this other girl who was my friend
Yeah.
was also there as well. And then you're just like, what are you doing here? In a way, I was kind of glad she's there. But what I didn't realise,
She'd been arrested as
she'd
well.
been arrested at the same time as me.
Okay.
So then you know, okay, the police didn't do that just out of thin air. They planned it.
They've done their homework.
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
done their homework. They
yeah.
knew where we were coming and going.
Yeah.
And but even us two, we weren't allowed to talk. We were in separate holding cells.
They put you in a cell, right?
and
What was the cell like?
That was the worst. It was the smallest space on earth.
Kinna kwadda?
I could, and I know this by heart. I walked 8 steps that way and 2 steps that way
Really?
because I kept walking up and
So
down.
ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸੈੱਲ ਸੀ 8 ਕਦਮ ਇੱਦਾਂ
Yep,
2 ਕਦਮ ਇੱਦਾਂ
2 that way, and then there was a toilet right there, which
ਸਟੀਮ ਜਿਹੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹ
yeah.
ਐਂਡ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਸੀਟ ਬਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਟਾਇਲਟ ਸੀ ਨਥਿੰਗ
There's nothing there. There wasn't even any toilet roll.
ਟਾਇਲਟ ਰੋਲ ਬਣੀ ਸੀ ਉੱਥੇ
There wasn't. I had to ask someone just to wipe my tears, and
what about bed and what ਉੱਥੇ
it was just
The big
like a
round.
metal thing with a little
Little
thick
mattress on.
mattress, and they ask you.
no ਰਜਾਈ ਸਰਾਣਾ nothing like
No,
that
nothing like that. No,
and there's nothing in the cell
nothing at all. It's just there's no window.
so when they put you in the cell
I thought this is the rest of my life now. That's literally my first.
is that what you thought?
Yeah, I thought, and I didn't know that later I was going to be bailed or I could go home. I just thought I need to spend all my time in here for the rest of my life. That's what I
Because
thought.
you'd never had any experience with the police or
You know.
Because I've never heard of.
you've never been in a situation like
I've never
this.
been in that situation, but no one in your family or your friends talk about it because your circle has never been in this situation.
God.
And they interviewed my friend before they interviewed me.
Yeah. So they've got all the information of her.
Yeah, and
How long were you in the cell for before they interviewed you?
I was interviewed at about 3-4 o'clock, and I was there since 8 something in the morning.
And what were you thinking between 8 and 3?
I just wanted to die. I just wanted a hole to swallow me up and never come back out.
Did they let you talk to your mum? Have a phone call? Did they let you make a phone call?
Do you know what? I think I did. I can't even remember. That morning was it was such a big blur. I don't remember. I know they called me back to reception at the
Yeah.
front desk, And then they said, there's a solicitor coming for you, and I think that's why I had to wait a few hours.
Right, okay. A duty solicitor comes, yeah.
No, I think my family had
Oh,
arranged
the
for someone.
arrangement. Okay, teacher.
So they said, your family's made arrangements. So they shoved me back in that cell. And then a few hours later, this woman comes along who I've never met before, never seen, never heard of. And I think my brother at that time, bless him, he just found what he could on Google.
Yeah, what you could, and then just...
But looking back at it now, this person was not much help to me.
wasn't competent enough.
No, she didn't tell me that I might benefit. I mean, at that point, you can't benefit from anything anyway.
Yeah.
But she didn't even say, like, you know, keep your mouth shut, just
Do a no comment.
do a no comment.
Or do a written statement or whatever.
Yeah, whereas the other person, she had an on-duty solicitor who told her to go no comment, and she left the interview within 20, 30 minutes.
Really?
And I was there for hours and hours because I thought, and again, if you've never been in the situation, you don't know, but sometimes you think if you speak and you tell them, that they'll believe you, or you're just being open and honest.
But what you've got to realise is they do warn you that anything you may say will be taken down in evidence, right?
But then, although they warn you, if you've never heard that warning,
You never heard it,
I mean,
yeah.
I
You only seen it on TV.
You only seen it
the
on
most
TV.
I've ever heard that dialogue was when I was younger. My dad used to be watching Bill. And
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
you've never heard it, you don't know what it means, so
So then you had your interview. How long was that? You don't remember?
I don't remember. Oh, it felt like an eternity.
And they asked you questions
They did,
and you answered?
to the best I could.
Right.
Little I didn't realise at the time, but what I'd answered, it was totally the opposite to this so-called friend.
And what she'd answered?
And what she'd answered, and where she's got no comment, anything I'm saying is alien to them.
Yeah.
And because that person, the victim of the crime, was her relative, and she's got no comment, it put me in a predicament where I looked guilty and she looked innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what happened after the interview?
Between that interview and being charged, I think there was about two, 3 more interviews at the police station. But this time they were different police stations.
On the same day?
No.
so-
It was
so-
over.
After that interview, did they let you go?
They did. They let me go home, and they
Straight away after the interview?
I think it was about half an hour after.
Then how did you feel?
I just couldn't wait to get home. But
Relieved, right?
my journey home was like,
You remember that?
yeah, I walked all the way
From the police station?
from the police station home, and it was easily about 5-6 kilometre walk.
Did no one come to get you?
I didn't phone anyone to come and get me.
And what were you thinking on the way home?
What am I going to say? How am I going to explain that
To your mum?
to my mum? Is mum even going to be home? How's her health? Thoughts were everywhere, and it's like, shall I even go back home? But then I also realised the police only has my home address. If I don't go home,
Where else
they're
would
going
you
to bother
go?
my family.
Did you have anywhere to go?
No, but I just wanted to, like I said, escape. You just want to change, shower, go to bed, and wake up like it didn't happen.
Right.
But I had this whole lot of explaining to do to my mum, and obviously when you're telling your mum this now, I had to put into half an hour or 1 hour or one conversation the last 18 months of my life to my mum.
And did you tell her truthfully what happened, or did you even lie?
I told her part of the
Did you-
truth.
Did you skip out bits, yeah?
I skipped out bits because when I've got home, I've realised that my mum has been over to this girl's house
Yeah.
and spoken to her dad.
Yeah. Oh.
And finding out from my mum, apparently her dad wasn't even bothered that she'd been arrested.
Wow.
Because it happened to her before, over a family matter or something. My mum's sitting there crying, telling me, since this morning she couldn't even swallow a drop of water. And my brother's like, what's so strange? Her dad offered us a cup of tea, and he sat there drinking his tea while we were talking to him. And then he's telling my mum and my brother, I always knew that your daughter was wrong for my child.
Oh, he's blaming it on you.
He's blaming it on me. And then my mum, she was crying, and she's like, well, if your dad was around, he wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
And that really shocked me when I found out from my mum that was his reaction. Like, it's always easy to blame the other child, but not hold accountability for your
For
own.
your own child.
And my mum was trying to tell him that, you know, we'd been away to countries in Europe. And he just didn't seem to know anything about it. He denied it all to my mum and said, no, Meri kudi kam te jandi hai. My daughter doesn't get involved in stuff like that. And that was really bizarre, because
That's
how can
bizarre.
you,
But she probably hasn't told him.
how can your child not be coming home at night and you don't know? I had to tell my mum where I was going. I might have lied about the reasons for going, but she knew I was away. She knew what countries I was in.
Does she know who you were with?
Partly, and partly I say that because partly I lied to her at the time, but that's just the headspace I was in. I'm not justifying lying to your parents. I wouldn't recommend it at all, because I know if I told her
But
the
that's the
truth,
situation, the web you were caught up in
but
there.
part of that web I'd made myself,
You've made it yourself.
and part of it was kind of laid out for me. It was a trap, I fell in it, and to then justify myself and not be a bad friend, you lie even more. You know, looking back at it now, when this friend phoned me and she felt suicidal, I sometimes think to myself, do you know what? I wish I'd just let her carry on,
Better carry on, yeah.
because the way I've suffered, and from that date of arrest up until today, it's something that me and my family can't come out of, because we've lived it, we are living it. I'm still dealing with it, you know.
You explained to your mum, you left a few bits out. What was your mum's reaction? Did she believe you, or did she say,
Hold on,
She
the
did.
key younger you could know.
She did, but I know she was too overwhelmed with the information.
probably didn't understand what was going on?
And then what happened, I think 2-3 days later, I was out again.
Yeah.
And this friend was trying to convince me, you know, oh, nothing's wrong, everything.
Yeah,
be
did you meet
okay.
up with your friend, and did you say, well,
I
hold on, this
did.
is what happened, and...
I did. And while we're out, I get a phone call by it was actually a text message. His message was, don't come home, the police are here. And I'm just thinking, what? And then when
What, this was after you've been bailed?
after I got bailed, this
So
was
police came again?
the third day after I got bailed. And
The police came again?
the police came again.
What for?
What they done was that apparently they'd walked into the house. They weren't looking for me, but they wanted to arrest my mum. And the reason why they placed her under arrest was because they wanted to search the whole house now.
They wanted to arrest your mum?
Yeah,
She's got nothing to do with it, Juddy.
nothing to do with it at all.
But because they wanted to search the whole house.
They
had to arrest your
They had
mum.
to arrest my mum. And then once they've searched the whole house, they searched the car. They done everything.
Did they arrest your mum?
They didn't put her under cuffs, from what I know. Maybe they did, and then they let her go. I believe from my brother. But when he was telling me this on the phone, I just wanted to die. Like, for me to have caused that for my mum is the worst feeling in the world.
And the person you've cared for
the
your whole
person-
life,
The person I've cared for, but the person who's
giving you everything.
given me everything despite not having my dad around. Yeah, that was hard. And then when they got all the whatever they were looking for, then they just left the house in a tip. And
Did they find anything?
all I know is they took a few letters from my room,
Yeah.
and they took, I think it was a belt and a handbag that I had, and a few bits and pieces of jewellery that I had.
That's how personal they get. They can take anything they want to.
They can go through your underwear drawer, they can go through your socks, they can go through your dirty laundry, they can flip your mattress,
And they did all of that.
and they did all of that. They have no limits to what they can and can't
So
do.
then they took that and left. And then you came home?
They de-arrested my mum, so they said, you know, you're no longer,
Yeah,
once they got
yeah.
what they wanted. And then they said to her that, you know, because we're going to de-arrest you, but you do need to come into the station for an interview. And that was even worse than them coming to arrest her, because it's like now, Hon Meri Mum knew, for me, she has to go to a police station.
She's never been in her life.
She's never been. She's never spoken to a police officer, let alone. And then, so they called her over. They arranged a time and a date, and then she went. And obviously, my
When you got home after the arrest of your mum, what conversation do you have with your mum?
so I was, like I said, I was out of the house.
Yeah.
I only came back to the house once they'd left.
Yeah.
And I remember she just hugged me, and it was like nothing I've ever experienced in my life.
God.
Did it then hit you the gravity of the situation, or was it hitting you from day one when you were in a police station?
It hit me from day one, but it didn't hit me as hard as when they've come to my mum.
I'll come to arrest you.
Because the person who's benefited from all of this, her and her mum are sitting at home.
And her dad was not really bothered,
And her dad wasn't bothered, you know?
blaming you lot.
Yeah, blaming me. And, yeah.
God. So then your mum went to the police station, right?
So, she...
Did you go with her?
No. The solicitor had advised me to stay at home.
Yeah.
So my mum went. And, because, you know, like, so our parents have online banking or whatever.
Yeah.
They do. My mum's situation was she must have transferred me £20 here, £30 there, £100 there. Albeit for grocery shopping, because I was the person responsible for the house. I was running the house. It was for those purposes only. But the reason why the police wanted to take her in was, are you in on this?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Doing?
They want to do a forensic investigation.
And then they let my mum go without any further investigation because they realised there was...
She doesn't know
She
anything,
didn't have a
yeah.
role to play. She was just in the dark as much as anyone else was. But yeah.
And then what happened? Then you had a few
Return dates?
I had another interview after that. I believe 2 more after that.
Yeah.
And then it was the same month. I remember getting a phone
The
call.
questions the same?
Different each time, right?
Questions were pretty much the same. Once or twice they did change. I feel stupid because in the first instance I think the police did see it for what it was. But because I was trying to be this good friend and...
So you almost took the rap.
I wish I hadn't, and I wish I knew what I was doing.
But you did.
Yeah.
Because out of loyalty to your friend.
Yeah. Where the biggest mistake I made was my loyalty wasn't even with myself or my family.
God.
But that's also a downfall.
You didn't really have any idea of self-preservation.
Did you?
No.
GLS Solicitors is led by award-winning solicitor Harjap Singh Bhangal. GLS Solicitors, when the experts need an expert.